explosive. As we go back to the velocity display, you can see right there is still where we have the possible tornado signature. And this is just something we're going to be staying with and watching. The possible tornado is right there as it gets ready to work its way to the north and to the west. And we got a camera image of the Dauphin Island Bridge. Let's take a look at that. Well, you can obviously see a nasty storm is right over that area. Difficult to find the waterspout or the tornado, but we're going to keep watching that camera shot because it's either just past or it's very close to passing. Right now, it would be over the northern end of the bridge if it's there. It would be over the northern end of the bridge, but we're just going to keep watching and following that as it works its way to the north and west as it gets ready to approach Heron Bay. So again, if you're just joining us, tornado warning has been issued for parts of Dauphin Island, Heron Bay, Alabama Port, Deschamps, Biola Battery, Coden. You're all located in this tornado warning, and we're all watching this possible tornado that is located right here. Right there in red, that's the possible tornado, and it's lifting its way to the north and west. That's why Coden, Deschamps, Biola Battery, you still have time to get in shelter. And make sure you don't play around with this. This thing is moving quickly. Right now, it's moving to the north and west at 40 miles per hour, meaning you don't have a lot of time to get in shelter. So this is something that we have warned about for days in regards to Hurricane Ida, that we were going to end up being faced with a situation where numerous offshore to onshore tornadoes were going to be possible, and that thing's just going to keep lifting its way north and westward. I'll stop the radar loop. This is what it looks like on reflectivity, where you're looking at just the rain. Right here, where you got this little bend shape right here, that is where the possible tornado is located, and that's going to keep veering north and west. So if you're in Biola Battery, you're not really in a good place right now. Since it's moving northwest, it would be hooking in your general direction. So anyone near State Highway 188 near Biola Battery, get in shelter. If you know anyone that lives in Biola Battery that may not be paying attention, let them know right now they need to get in shelter. If you live in a mobile home, that's one place you don't want to be today, since we have such a huge threat for tornadoes. Keep in mind, as mentioned, this is not going to be the one and only tornado warning we get today. This is probably going to be the first of several that are going to be going off intermittently throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, and throughout the night. So you just don't want to be in a mobile home. You want to be in a structured-based, foundation-based home and building, and just make sure you stay there until the tornado threat is over. But that tornado is going to keep lifting to the north and to the west. So Biola Battery, you still got a couple of minutes to get in shelter, and we're still monitoring the situation. This started as a tornado. It started as a waterspout that was just east of Dauphin Island, moved over the east end of Dauphin Island, then moved across Cedar Point and the Dauphin Island Bridge, and it moved over it rapidly. And right now we got on the velocity display, the possible tornado is right now getting ready to hit that southern end of Mobile County that's north of Dauphin Island. So you got the Alabama Port, State Highway 193, and it looks like it's going to be just south of Bayou Street and just south of State Highway 188 and near Coden and near Callahan Road. So that red dot you see right there, that is your possible tornado. This big blob of red on the velocity display, that's the tornado. And there's the new signature, and it has now moved back on shore. This is the southern tip of Mobile County, excluding Dauphin Island, and it's right over between Alabama Port and Coden. Coden is located here, Alabama Port located here. Here's State Highway 188. That's the possible tornado, and it's going to keep moving north and west. That's why anyone in Coden and Biola Battery needs to be in shelter, because this thing is not weakening. It's moving fast, so probably on the next sweep scan, we're probably going to see it more than likely over Coden itself or near State Highway 188. The big hazard being in that northeast quadrant of hurricanes is the potential risk of seeing these things. Weather Service just said that it's currently near Cedar Point, and it's going to continue moving at northwest at 40. It's going to move toward Biola Battery. That was the city we were warning you about, and it's going to be there in the next 10 to 15 minutes. You need to take cover now if you're in the path of the storm. So Weather Service backing that up. Biola Battery, Coden, get in shelter now. Lowest level of your home, away from doors and away from windows, and make sure you stay there until the warning expires or is canceled. The warning is scheduled to go till 8 o'clock, but if that velocity display holds up and it doesn't look like it's going to weaken, then we'll see warnings continue to be extended throughout the entire morning. So this is, if you're just joining us, I'm meteorologist Michael White jumping into our regular Fox 10 morning news programming because of a tornado warning that has just gone off since we are on that northeast quadrant of Hurricane Ida. If you watched our coverage this week, if you watched Matt Barentine and Jason last night, this was going to be our big hazard on top of flash flooding. Here's the center of Ida that's working its way toward Grand Isle, Louisiana. We're northeast of it. When you're in that northeast quadrant, that spells trouble when it comes to tornadoes. That's why our entire area is underneath the tornado watch, and all of these showers and storms you see offshore are going to be lifting their way to the north and lifting their way to the north and west. So we're just going to have to keep watching and monitoring these things as we go through the course of the morning today, through the course of the afternoon, and more than likely through the course of the night tonight. And right now we have a live picture. I believe that's in that's Dauphin Island. So that is the causeway to Dauphin Island. So you can see how bad the weather is there as that storm is moving in. So you've already got a tremendous amount of coastal flooding as a result of the wind by itself. You've also got a flash flooding threat by itself as a result of the rain. So conditions are already bad enough. Now you throw a tornado in the mix and it's really rough. And that's a look at the warning, and that's a look at the storm. You can see lightning is already popping with that storm too. So the tornado warning includes Biola Battery, Alabama Port, Dauphin Island. Although Dauphin Island itself, the tornadic part of the storm has already lifted to the north of you, but obviously you're still getting pounded with rain. And that's going to be another issue, is that if you get caught in the train of one of these outer rain bands, you're just going to get hit hard with numerous showers. The current tornado is right near Coden, and there it is right there. I'll circle it. And that's the possible tornado couplet right there. And it's right on the doorstep of Coden, Deschamps, and Biola Battery. So if you live in Coden or Biola Battery, you are running out of time to get in shelter. This is State Highway 188, and anyone in this corridor needs to go to the safe place right now. Obviously, when the tornado threat ends in this area, you're still going to get pounded with rain. You're still going to get hit hard with lightning. There's still going to be the risk of coastal flooding and storm surge. We saw that from that live camera earlier. Here comes the new sweep. And the possible tornado looks like it's right here, still just south of State Highway 188. Hopefully this thing will weaken as it keeps lifting north and west, but there's no guarantee that will happen. And remember, once this warning expires, you're still not in the all clear. Numerous tornado warnings could be popping up at any point across our area today. So although you can breathe a sigh of relief when this warning expires, just know that you still got to be on guard in case another one shows up. So that's going to be the kind of day that we're expecting today. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a quick severe weather event where it's one and done, or we get a few tornado warnings over a span of a couple of hours and then it's smooth sailing. This is going to be an all-day event, an all-night event, and more than likely an issue that we got to deal with for the first part of tomorrow. But Biola Battery, you still got time to get in shelter as we're monitoring that possible tornado as it lifts its way to the north and to the west. And Coden, it's got you in its sights. We'll go back to the reflectivity, to the actual radar, and you can see, look at how far back all the nasty showers and storms extend offshore, well south of Gulf Shores, producing tremendous amounts of heavy rain and lightning. Then even Dauphin Island, even though the possible tornado is already lifted north of you, you've got another huge rain band that's hitting you, hitting the Dauphin Island Bridge. Where the possible tornado is where you have the lightning popping, and that's just south of Coden. Where you see those lightning strikes, that's where the possible tornado is located on the reflectivity imagery, which shows the rain, and it's going to keep marching its way to the north and west. It's possible that it might just miss Biola Battery, but that's not guaranteed. Coden, it's too close for comfort for you, and that's why you've got to make sure you are taking proper precautions now, staying in place in shelter, not leaving shelter until this warning has expired or is canceled. But we have the circulation, according to the Weather Service, is now intensifying and lowering as it approaches the southeast side of Biola Battery. They have emphasized you've got to take cover now because a tornado may already be on the ground or it may be developing shortly based on the latest radar scans. And whenever you see lightning popping like this, that means intensification. Whenever you have rain that doesn't have lightning in it in a tornadic situation and then you start seeing these strikes popping, that's an indicator that the system is intensifying. So that means the clock is almost running out for those of you in this part of Mobile County to get into your safe place. If you're just joining us again, I'm meteorologist Michael White in the Storm Tracker Center, monitoring this on radar, monitoring a chat with the National Weather Service office in Mobile as we continue to track this potential dangerous tornado that right now is getting ready to cross over into Coden. You can see on the velocity couplet, it's right there. We got that green and the red connected. That's your possible tornadic signature, and it's getting ready to cross Coden and getting ready to approach parts of Biola Battery. So here's State Highway 188, here's Biola Battery, here's Coden. That's likely your tornado, and it's continuing to move north and west at 40 miles an hour, meaning it can show up fast and you don't have a lot of time to get in shelter with this. This is inbound and outbound wind flow, which shows rotation and is the reason why a tornado may be on the ground and crossing this section of Mobile County. For the rest of you who are not in immediate danger from this, just know that, you may end up drawing the short straw later in the day today because we are going to see numerous tornado warnings going off throughout the rest of the morning and afternoon. This, unfortunately, is just not going to be a one-and-done scenario. This is going to be the first of several possible tornadoes we're expecting to see across our area as a result of Hurricane Ida. So please get in shelter right now. Coden and Biola Battery. The tornado warning is set to expire at the top of the hour. However, it may be extended unless this signature begins to weaken. And so far, since we've gone into continuous tornado coverage, it hasn't done that at all. So we've just got to continue to stay with this. And I implore all of you in Mobile County to get in shelter. We'll show you the watch warning map. Notice that everyone in the area is underneath the tornado watch. That's the yellow. The only counties it doesn't include is Clark, Monroe, and Conecuh counties. Everyone else is in the watch till at least 7 o'clock tonight. The southern end of Mobile County in the tornado warning. The rest of Mobile County is not included in that, but it may get extended or expanded depending on what happens with that tornadic signature. But it's set to expire at 8 o'clock. And you can see just how bad the situation is right now with offshore to onshore rain and storm activity. There's the lightning still popping right around Coden. You can see the dark red is where the heaviest rain bands are already showing up. Keep in mind, you've got south winds that are intense as a result of Ida. So that's the reason why coastal flooding and storm surge are an issue throughout the day as well. So even though our winds aren't going to be like it's going to be in Louisiana, we're still going to end up with several hazards as a result of this hurricane. So we'll go back to the velocity, and you can see it's right over, it's approaching Biola Battery right now. I'll recircle it. Right here we got this red and the green. That's the possible tornado. It would be over Coden right now if it's on the ground, and it looks like it's moving right in toward Biola Battery. So this is the most dangerous part of this storm because this is where the rotation is and north is where it's going. So although several spots are dealing with rain, storms, and coastal flooding, a tornado or a possible tornado is moving right now over Coden and getting ready to move over toward Biola Battery. So, we've tried warning you the last several minutes to get in shelter. If you know anyone in Biola Battery, tell them now that they've got to take shelter from this storm because a possible tornado is going to be, here comes the new scan. And you can see right there is where the possible tornado is. It would be right on the western edge of Biola Battery. So the western part of Biola Battery, right near State Highway 188, is where your tornado or possible tornado is going to be rolling through. So we're going to keep staying with this and keep watching for more updates because the circulation has been intensifying with this. And so far, I haven't heard on whether or not the tornado warning will be extended or expanded, rather. Assuming it is, then that would put those of you in Dixon Corner, Grand Bay, and Irvington under the gun. You would be the next one to be underneath the tornado warning. St. Elmo, you would be underneath that as well. So Biola Battery, You've got to make sure you are in shelter right now. And for everyone else in southern Mobile County, be on standby because it is very possible a tornado warning goes off for you depending on what happens with this. And we'll go back to the radar imagery, and you can see all of the rain and storms that are offshore are all going to be marching their way to the north. See, look at those rain bands as they lift their way from offshore to onshore. Numerous bands of rain and storms, and we're expecting more widespread rain tomorrow compared to what we're going to be dealing with today. So that's why this is just going to be a very wet pattern on the Gulf Coast for a while as a result of Hurricane Ida. No major updates in the last 5 minutes from the Weather Service office, but we're just going to stay with this as we monitor this possible tornado that right now is on the western edge of Bayou La Battery, right over Codan, right around State Highway 188. So the southern end of Mobile County, State Highway 188 and Bayou La Battery, dealing with a possible tornado right now. So anyone that is near that region, anyone that is in that part of Mobile County, anyone near Shell Belt Road, you need to be in shelter immediately. If you live in a mobile home, you don't want to be there today because this is going to be the first of several tornado warnings that go off, and we could see several of these showers and storms that move from offshore to onshore produce signatures like this where you have outbound wind and inbound wind connected, which is a sign of rotation and a possible tornado. And there's the new sweep scan, and it's rolling right now over the western edge of Bayou La Battery. So right now it would be just to the west of State Highway 188. I'll go ahead and clear that circle. And those of you in Dixon Corner, those of you in Grand Bay, you need to be on standby in case the warning is expanded to include you. Right now it's not, but it might be. The warning is set to expire at 8 o'clock, and I haven't heard word from the Weather Service whether they're going to let it lapse or not. But we're going to stay with this because I think just based on that signature, there's a very good chance they keep it active. And I would say Grand Bay, St. Elmo, Irvington, Dixon Corner, Fowl River, you all need to be ready to go. Even Theodore, you need to make sure, in Union Church, you need to just be on standby for a tornado warning that may be going off for your area sooner rather than later. The west end of Bayou La Battery is dealing with this possible tornado right now as it continues marching to the north and west at about 40 miles per hour. So it's moving very, very quickly across our section of the Gulf Coast, and you want to make sure that you're taking that threat seriously. Assuming it holds together, we're going to be dealing with Fernland getting hit with this at 8:15, but that's at a 15-mile-an-hour estimated wind. Let me back this up and expand it farther and run this out to go 40 miles per hour. Assuming it holds that speed, Grand Bay, it would be to you in less than 10 minutes. Hurley, it would clip you at 8:33. So that doesn't give you a lot of time if you live in Grand Bay. If this thing holds together, then Grand Bay, it's going to be to you in about the next 12 minutes. Now, that is a radar estimate based on its current speed and trajectory, which is very much subject to change. We just got a new sweep scan in. We'll take a closer look at that. And that signature is just not weakening at all. And now it looks like it's starting to move away from Bayou La Battery, and it looks like it's got Grand Bay in its sights. So Grand Bay, you need to be getting in shelter immediately. If you know anyone that lives in Grand Bay, let them know that they need to be in the lowest level of their home, away from doors and away from windows, and you need to stay there. Of course, officially you're not underneath a tornado warning, but I think the odds are pretty good that since this thing is not weakened, we're going to see the actual warning box, which cuts off right here, get expanded to include other communities in Mobile County based on the movement of this projected tornado. So we're going to be on standby here because we'll be hitting 8 o'clock in the next 3 minutes. And more than likely, that's going to be the case because I just don't see that signature fading. If it started to, I think we'd see the warning lapse. And sure enough, Weather Service has just expanded the tornado warning. There it is. You see the new red box. It does include Grand Bay, and it does include parts of Dixon Corner. The warning also includes Union Church. So it does not include Irvington and Theodore. So you're in the all clear from that. Let me pull it up on the watch warning map, and you can see that only Grand Bay that's the biggest town in Mobile County that is in the new tornado warning. So Theodore and Irvington, you're not included in this. Dawes, West Mobile, you're not included in this. But Grand Bay, you are now officially in the tornado warning polygon, which means the tornado that has hit Coden, Dauphin Island, Biola Battery is moving towards you, and you need to make sure you are seeking shelter immediately, and you're not playing around with this. It looked like the odds were very good we'd see that warning box expanded, and we now have. This warning is scheduled to go all the way till at least 8:45, and this is going to be a day where we see warnings going off all day long, more than likely, and all night long, because we're in that dreaded northeast quadrant of Hurricane Ida. So let's go back and pull up the radar imagery with Ida, and you can see that well-defined eye as it's approaching the southeastern Louisiana coast, and we are northeast of that eye. That's the reason why we have the tornado threat. We always say the northeast quadrant of a tropical system, and that's why we got the tornado watch, and that's why we're having to watch these cellular storms very closely as they're lifting to the north and west. These things can produce tornadoes quickly, and that's what we saw over Dauphin Island. These tornadoes formed fast, and they formed rapidly. So let's go back to the velocity display, and the possible tornado right now is getting ready to approach Grand Bay. So Grand Bay, you're kind of running out of time, so to speak, to get in shelter. There's your possible tornado. It's getting ready to continue to hug State Highway 188 just west of Dixon Corner, and it looks like it might roll right over Grand Bay. So this does not give you a lot of time to get in shelter. If you know anyone that lives in Grand Bay, call them right now. Tell them, hey, wake up. You need to get into your safe place, because this is something you just don't need to play around with a signature this strong. And we have followed this tornadic signature all the way back at Dauphin Island, and it hasn't weakened. If anything, it's only gotten stronger. It moved over the Dauphin Island Bridge. It moved over Coden. It moved over Biola Battery. And now it's got Grand Bay in its sights. So if you know anyone around Grand Bay near Grand Bay Wilmer Road, tell them right now they have got to make sure they're not playing around with this, because this could be a really life-threatening situation. Remember what happened during Tropical Storm Claudette? Way weaker than Ida. Yet we had an EF2 tornado roll right over Bruton in that system. And you think about how strong Ida is and how strong the outer rain bands are, and you think about what the risks of tornadoes are in that situation. So that's the reason why you've got a tornado has actually been spotted by an amateur radio operator in Coden, moving northwest off of Railroad Street. No debris was visible, but large rotation was visible. So when that thing was moving over Coden, it was spotted by an amateur radio operator. So, but no reports of debris, but reports of circulation. So that's something that we just got, that just came in from the Weather Service. So that's the reason why we're staying with this. We've gotten visual reports of rotation in the sky, and if a tornado is actually falling on the ground, you've got to make sure you're taking that threat seriously, because this is obviously life-threatening based on what we've seen with these types of situations, because this is just not something to play around with. You want to make sure that you're getting in shelter immediately. You're paying attention to the latest warnings. You have ways to get the warnings if they're issued, and that you're going to be following this throughout the day, because here's the problem. Even when that warning expires, we've still got numerous opportunities for tornadoes to be going off through the course of the day that may not be ending anytime soon. In fact, I think more than likely we're going to be dealing with a tornado threat through the night tonight, and we're just going to be staying with this because it just doesn't look like it's going to be lapsing anytime soon. So here's the watch warning map. Tornado watch for just about everybody in the area till at least 7 o'clock tonight. One active tornado warning. That does include parts of Biola Battery, Grand Bay, Coden, Dixon Corner, Union Church, and we're just going to be staying with this warning as it's lifting its way to the north and west. And look at all the rain and storms that are getting ready to push onto Fort Morgan, that are pushing over the Mobile Bay. But the most dangerous part of the storm is right there. And that's why we're staying with this and staying on the air with this. This is a very dangerous situation that is just something that we just got to stay with. We don't want to see these things, but unfortunately it's a situation where we're going to be dealing with several of these. So there's your possible tornado. It's lifting over Grand Bay, going to be crossing the Interstate 10 corridor. That's another problem. We've had reports of a lot of travelers on Interstate 10 that were leaving Louisiana to get away from Hurricane Ida. We had a lot of travelers heading in the eastbound lanes of I-10 yesterday, and now this possible tornadic signature is going to be crossing not only US 90, but also crossing this section of Interstate 10 around Grand Bay, and that's just to the west of McDonald Road. So anyone near the I-10 corridor or US 90 in Grand Bay needs to be in shelter immediately as we continue watching and following this possible tornado as it continues to lift its way to the north and west. From the Weather Service, the tornado is currently on the northwest side of Coden between Biola Battery and Grand Bay. So your possible tornado would be, let me mark this off. The possible tornado is between, the storm has already produced a brief tornado, may produce additional tornadoes in the next few minutes. This is a dangerous storm, and there is a strong possibility of a tornado moving right into Grand Bay in the next 5 minutes. Take cover immediately in an interior room on the lowest floor. Absolutely no windows. So we're going to keep following this and monitoring this. I'm going to switch the velocity display, and we are going to go with the storm relative velocity, and that doesn't really change anything. Let's go and take a look at the Weather Service velocity again, and the possible tornado is located right there around Wheatcraft Road, just to the west of State Highway 188. So this was located on the northwest side of Coden. Coden located right there. And the northwest side of Coden, the possible tornado is lifting right now up toward Grand Bay and State Highway 188. So Fernland, Grand Bay, the 188 US 90 intersection. That is the hot spot. That is the spot that you need to make sure you're in shelter for right now. Here comes the new sweep, and the possible tornado is located right. It looks like it's getting harder to find on the radar imagery, and that's a problem. The signature is starting to fade away, so I'm going to get another radar imagery scan, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to pull up the reflectivity so you can just get a look at the monstrous storm itself and look at all of the rain and storm activity across the region. This is what's going to be producing all of these tornadoes, and you've just got nasty weather that's rolling over Coden, Biola Battery, Grand Bay, lightning popping, gusty winds, possible tornadoes that are going to be sticking around till at least 8:45. And as far as where the tornado is located, it looks like it's going to be just near Grand Bay right now. And that's going to keep marching its way to the north and west at about 40 miles per hour. I'm checking multiple radar images while I'm talking to you. I'm trying to talk and look at things at the exact same time because this is a situation where the day is just so active. And I do spot right now on the storm relative velocity where the possible tornado is located. I'm going to try to pull that up again on the velocity display. I'm going to see if I can change this out to show this, because this is here we go, storm relative velocity, and it would be located right in this general region. So it'd be right over there, storm relative velocity, and it's right near Grand Bay. So this signature right here, let me pull up the arrow. Here comes the new scan. Right there is the possible tornado. So anyone in Grand Bay needs to make sure they're in shelter immediately as we continue to follow this over the next several minutes. The warning is not expected to expire until 8:45. If you're just joining us, this is a situation where we're going to be dealing with a tornado threat much of the day because we're on that northeast quadrant of Hurricane Ida. On the futurecast, look at this. Notice that we see waves of storms hitting us through midday. Then we have more coming in the afternoon. Then there may be a little break in the evening, but then overnight, look at that. More storms start blowing through, and then we could end up dealing with even more on Monday. On the long-range futurecast, we really don't see things changing around here until at least midweek. So on top of the immediate tornado threat, there's also going to be the threat for flash flooding that's going to continue plaguing our section of the Gulf Coast. As Ida finally lifts away from us, look at the change that we end up getting. By the time we get to the latter part of Tuesday and into Wednesday, we finally end up going rain-free. So it's going to be several days before we get that chance. So that's that's the reason why this is going to be a very prolonged severe weather event, and the reason why we're staying with this as we move in throughout the course of the morning. So your possible tornado right there over Grand Bay. The wind's fierce. Right there is your tornado, and it looks like it's crossing Interstate 10. That's just west of Grand Bay Wilmer Road. And we're talking about a tornado that we've had sightings of from numerous people that have been messaging with the National Weather Service. That's your possible tornado. There's Grand Bay Wilmer Road, Grand Bay, Interstate 10, US 90. And that's going to keep lifting its way to the north and to the west. And we have not seen anything on the radar imagery that indicates that it's going to be weakening anytime soon. And I just think that even when we do finally see this weakening, more than likely we're going to have another tornado going off somewhere across the Gulf Coast. So if you are not impacted by this, just know that there will be the chance for more as the day progresses. But that's your possible tornado, which is right now over Grand Bay, west of Grand Bay Wilmer Road and crossing Interstate 10, which is horrible given how many people have been traveling on I-10 trying to get away from Ida that have left Louisiana and left Mississippi. But we're in that northeast quadrant, so the tornado threat's going to continue, and we're going to see that tornado continue lifting to the north and west at about 40 miles per hour. We don't have anything new in the last 6 minutes from the Weather Service office, but we're going to stay with this as long as that signature remains active. All of you in Union Church, anyone up and down Grand Bay Wilmer Road needs to be in shelter right now, because Union Church, assuming it holds together, it'll be coming for you. Fort Lake Road, it'll be coming for you next. So it's going to be hugging Grand Bay Wilmer Road and moving up toward Union Church and Fort Lake Road. But those of you in Irvington and Theodore, you're safe for the time being. The tornado is not moving in your general direction. Notice that the Weather Service has cut off the tornado warning box. It's now smaller, and it's taken Grand Bay out. And the radar imagery went out. I'm going to try to get that back. But it does include only Union. It only includes the western edge of the area. There's the signature. We just got the new sweep scan in, and it looks like the possible tornado is right there over the western edge of Grand Bay, and it's continuing to work its way to the north and to the west over Fort Lake Road. But based on the new polygon drawing, that means it would miss those of you in Union Church, which is good news. But the western edge of Mobile County, including Fort Lake Road, needs to be in shelter. I'll give you a better look at that polygon. Look at how big the Gulf Coast is, and then look at how small the possible tornado warning is. It only includes a section of Fort Lake Road that is just to the west of Grand Bay Wilmer Road. You're the only ones that is included in this current tornado warning, but it is still moving to the north and west at 40 miles per hour. And the storm was near Grand Bay, but it looks like it's going to be moving in that general direction and also towards possibly Jackson County, Mississippi. So we're just going to stay with this a little while longer to see if the signature holds together or not. But with the polygon getting smaller, it makes me think the Weather Service thinks that this thing is going to be getting weaker. But as we've said all day, it's going to be a long day, because this is not going to be a one-and-done tornado warning, because as Ida keeps churning toward the Mississippi, the Louisiana coast, we stay in that northeast quadrant, which means we have to deal with constant offshore to onshore rain and storms. And you can see the tornado warning did get expanded to include Jackson County, Mississippi. Now, it won't include Pascagoula, but it will also include more than likely places like Hurley. Let's go back and pull that up on the map. And here you go. You can see it does include Hurley. It does include sections of State Highway, Mississippi Highway 613 around Big Point. And it includes parts of Mississippi Highway 63. Wade, it includes that. Three Rivers and Hurley. So the tornado warning now includes western Mobile County, but it also includes northeast Jackson County. And it will be in play until at least 8:45 this morning. Or the Weather Service expanded it to 9:15. So they've taken it all the way to 9:15. We'll see if it goes that long. But that's why we've been talking about this being a very long day for us, because once one warning looks like it's fading out, another one pops its way right back in. So look at the bigger picture. Look at all of the rain and storms that are marching from the southeast to the north and west, producing tons of rain, producing tons of lightning, and it's all continuing to lift its way in a southeast to northwest motion. The latest velocity display shows that the possible tornado is getting ready to work its way from Grand Bay and work over into parts of Jackson County, Mississippi. So that's why we're going to be staying with this and following this. Now, Jackson County is technically not inside our television market. George County is. Jackson County is not. So once that actually veers over into Jackson County, we're going to go back to check on the rest of it. We're going to do more Hurricane Ida coverage, but we're also going to bring news back into the fold and go back to finishing up our morning news program once that officially crosses over into parts of Jackson County, Mississippi. So we're going to stay with it a little bit longer, but I think that's what we're going to do once we know more about what that thing is going to end up doing. But it looks like it's on the state line. You can see where that bright green is. It's on the state line, and it's getting ready to march its way toward the north and toward the west. But I just don't think we're going to have many opportunities where we won't see tornado warnings in our area because of so many nasty showers and storms that are offshore that are going to be constantly lifting their way north throughout the course of the day. That's why flash flooding is a huge concern, but tornado warnings are also a huge concern. So now that tornado or possible tornado is getting ready to move over into parts of Jackson County, Mississippi, I want to ask our producers, are we going back to news? Do we have more news coverage? We aren't? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and send it back to the desk with Sarah for more updates on Hurricane Ida. We will be here in the Weather Center continuing to monitor this. If we get any new warnings, we'll jump right back on and bring those to you. Sarah?
All right, Michael, thank you. And again, stay tuned because if anything pops up that you need to know about right this second, we're going to go right back to Michael. But also this morning, we are continuing to see how things are shaping up on our local beaches and across the area. And we're looking at what is ready in the aftermath of the storm. Mobile's Coast Guard Aviation Training Center on standby for Hurricane Ida. Crews are trained to fly in any scenario, which enables them to perform some of those high-risk rescues and recoveries across the Gulf Coast. So this morning, we're going to be talking with the Coast Guard. We have Petty Officer 3rd Class Gabriel Wisdom joining us this morning. And thank you so much for being with us this morning. And you know, we've had him on the line with us. He was waiting for us with, okay, are you there? Petty Officer? All right. Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear him, so we're having some technical issues this morning, but he has been hanging on the line, and we're going to try to... are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. We can hear you. Thank you so much, and thanks for your patience in staying with us this morning. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about what y'all are expecting and what your role may be in the aftermath of the storm. So how have y'all been preparing, and what are you expecting?
Okay, so the Coast Guard's been preparing by, we've been reallocating assets all around the area. We've been pre-staging them, as we like to say. We have about 18 air assets standing by and 12 sea assets placed strategically around the region. We also have an area command set up in St. Louis overlooking the whole the whole incident, and we have